I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. It is in retrospect amazing that Trump spoke to the two houses of Congress at all, because the address did not take place inside his cocoon. 6 weeks into his presidency, and he has already silenced virtually all stimuli coming from outside that cocoon. The evidence that could tell him the truth, that more Americans disapprove of him than any other incoming executive since such polling data has been compiled. That efforts to remove him from office are already coalescing and sharpening, and especially that much of his own administration has shown signs of turning on him and is dividing quickly into two camps, those trying to clean up his messes by routing around him, and those who are actively undermining him by leaks and even with on-the-record contradictions. Trump, of course, literally cannot hear any of this. He must be loved, worshipped, obeyed. That's why there is a cocoon. That's why there is a cocoon where there were lines 6 blocks long to get into his speech at CPAC when the public wasn't even admitted to CPAC, so there could not have been any lines out on the street. That's why he had to cancel on the White House Correspondents' Dinner before the correspondents could refuse to invite him, or before he was faced with venturing outside the cocoon and getting mauled by a comic. That's why his staff reportedly feeds him only stories he will like from propagandist sites like Fox News and Breitbart. That's why the Baltimore Orioles denied us a potential test of the density of the cocoon when the team's chief operating officer said he would not invite Trump to throw out the ceremonial first pitch on baseball's opening day. What a choice. 46,000 screaming fans who could cheer him, to be cheered, perchance to be booed. Aye, there's the rub. And then there are the leaks. Trump is insane enough that he could repeatedly scream about the illegal leaks when he spent the campaign, literally every one of the last 30 days, 164 times in 1 month, quoting the illegal leaks reportedly provided by Russia to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. He loves WikiLeaks. He could rail about catching the leakers and investigating them and punishing them, while Reince Priebus was begging the FBI to leak about Trump and Russia, and while the White House got Congressman Nunes and Senator Burr to leak about Trump and Russia. He could attack the FBI and CIA self-destructively and specifically about leakers inside their own organizations, while his own house is such a sieve that his faithful toady Sean Spicer reportedly collects all his staffers' phones to check if they have been leaking. And not only does that story itself leak out within days, but when it does, it contradicts Trump's mindless assertion that the news media just makes up stories about him. If they are making stories up about him, why are you checking who is leaking those stories? And when the White House wants specific outlets banned from news briefings, Spicer does it, even though just 2 months ago Spicer said they only do that in dictatorships. This makes no sense. Not even for a crazy man inside a cocoon, confirming what you ardently deny, retroactively declaring the presidency you serve a dictatorship. It makes no sense, unless we postulate that what Trump calls leaks and what the rest of the world calls leaks are different things. He's not obsessed with leaks from inside the cocoon getting out. He is obsessed with leaks from outside the cocoon getting in. The Russian scandal is not a problem for him because it could send him to an impeachment trial or the penitentiary or both. It is a problem to him because stories about it leak into the cocoon and damage his perfect world in which he was elected because everybody loves him. The same with the loss of the popular vote. To him, that's not about presidential legitimacy or a mandate. He just cannot permit it to be true because it means he finished second in something. What he calls leaks are in fact reality permeating the wall of his cocoon. As historians and medical researchers gain new information and new insight, the evidence mounts that the primary intellectual damage done to President Woodrow Wilson during his stroke in October 1919 was that it short-circuited the part of the brain that would normally have allowed President Wilson to understand the reality and gravity of the damage to his brain. It's called anosognosia, and it is, in essence, a physical form of denial. As the psychologist David Dunning once told the New York Times, an anosognosic patient who is paralyzed simply does not know he is paralyzed. If you put a pencil in front of them and ask them to pick up the pencil in front of their left hand, they won't do it. And you ask them why, and they'll say, well, I'm tired, or I don't need a pencil. Maybe Trump has that. If not, he has manufactured a cocoon for himself in which he might as well have it. This can be tragic for the nation. Some historians believe Wilson's anosognosia made it impossible for him to compromise about the League of Nations. His stroke may have in part led to the Second World War. Our tragedy with a president who will not or cannot allow reality to leak into his cocoon? Who knows what nightmare we will get? But it is axiomatic that authoritarians in power, even the ones who don't have anosognosia or regular old denial, begin by shutting out dissenting voices and invariably end up by shutting down dissenting voices. Resist. Peace.